basically just convinced my parents to let me get gender affirming care when Trump was elected, and I was trying to make an appointment, and then suddenly they cut it off. We just want to be kids. I should be worrying about my school and my grades, not having my rights stripped of me.
I personally think that every trans person, gay person, black person, any minority in this country should be able to arm themselves, because the only people who have guns shouldn't be the ones who want to kill us.
I think more straight white men need guns. I'm sorry, what were we talking about?
Okay, I'm a kid, so I don't know.
Okay, tell me the immediate effect this has on you. What are the immediate effects of Trump's policies and being a trans person?
So yeah, on his first day in office, he signed an executive order saying that there's no more X's on passports. I personally have had an X on my passport since 2023. So the fact that first I thought it was going to be invalid, but now I can still keep it for a minute, whatever long. But I know it felt so good having an X on my passport and having my gender identity reflected and the government recognizing me as that. But now I know no more people will get to experience that. And then
explain the concept of this to someone that just doesn't fucking get it. Like, maybe they're not a transphobe, maybe they're just like, they don't understand. Explain it to our people. You know, we're a little slow. Use crayons if you have to.
So, I mean, I don't necessarily think there's a difference between like cis, white people, whatever it is, because we're all people. Trans people are just doing things to feel more comfortable in their body, to feel like themselves, and they just want to be supported and recognized as human. Everybody practices some sort of gender affirming care, and it's not medical. You look at the people in office. Elon Musk got a hair transplant. You see Trump wearing and having the most orange face. He is doing things, he's taking actions to make himself feel more comfortable in his body by changing his appearance, wearing whatever makeup. And we're basically just doing the same thing just to make ourselves feel more comfortable when we look at the mirror and feel like ourselves.
Right now, there's a satanic panic around being trans. It's hard to explain to someone that someone is just socially transitioning majority of the time. They're just like, they just want to wear different clothes.
Yeah, I mean, most trans people don't either have access or don't ever get gender affirming care because it is expensive. It is hard to get even before they put so many restrictions on it. It's just so hard to access. So most people socially transition. They might wear, like I wear a binder or small things that you can do, or just ask people around them to use pronouns that feel comfortable with them. It's not what the media claims it is, that people are getting transgender operations in jail.
They saw a video and then they immediately rush to the doctor and they're like, just give me the knife. Yeah.
I mean, the thing is, I of course looked into it as a trans person, but you need to get your therapists, your doctors, you have to have basically 4-step verification like they do on whenever you're entering a website. You have to get so many approvals. It literally takes years to get an appointment. They act like it's this easy thing that you can be like, oh, I want to cut my boobs off, I want to cut my dick off. When that's not. It's so hard to even have access to that. Most trans people don't even have the opportunity to medically transition.
Like it's the easiest thing in the world.
Yeah, it's really not. You have to jump through so many hoops. I mean, one of the reasons this is so affected me, I basically just convinced my parents to let me get gender affirming care when Trump was elected, and I was trying to make an appointment, and then suddenly they cut it off. Right as I basically had convinced my parents, they just completely restricted that as an option. It's already next to impossible for trans kids to get care. Now they're making it literally. And gender affirming care is life-saving care. So by doing this, they are going to kill people.
Medically, healthcare wise, this is in New York City.
Yeah.
Even if you're consenting, everything, it's impossible.
Yeah, it really is. I mean, just to get an appointment, it takes months, years. Believe me, I've been trying. It's not as easy as they make it seem, and knowing that there's basically no possibilities. I mean, I have a friend who's in my algebra class, and on Monday I went to a protest outside NYU, and they had an appointment scheduled, and now they don't know if they're ever going to be able to do that, and that's why we're here fighting for it, because we want people to have access to care, life-saving care that makes them feel happier with themselves.
It's not about like, oh, we'll
Little
protect the kids. Yeah.
And I mean, protect the kids. You're protecting them by making them feel happy. You saw like so many little kids today who just who just wanted to be happy because we are kids. We just want to be kids. I should be worrying about my school and my grades, not having my rights stripped of me, my existence being erased, and being barred to have any access to life-saving care.
How does this screw with your travel if your passport is changed?
It actually has in the past, because I got mine in 2023, and since then, I have left the country. I went to the Dominican Republic this summer, and while I was going through the airport, like going through security at LaGuardia Airport in New York City, the machine wouldn't process my passport because I had an X on it. The computers just didn't recognize that because it wasn't an option in the country I'm flying to. So I literally had to wait an hour in line to get a human agent who could approve of my passport for me to enter, and I almost missed my flight because there's like 183 countries who don't have any recognition of the X gender, so it's hard to get into those countries. There's some countries where you're even not allowed through customs, like I think Saudi Arabia and the UAE, they just won't let you through security. There is so much restricted access in everywhere else from the world. There's only 17, like basically just the most developed nations who even have it as an option. So restricting it even further is just making it impossible for trans people to live their lives.
Explain what that would do if tomorrow your passport had to have an M or an F on it. Explain to the people that don't fucking get it.
When I got it, I was 16. My birthday had been like a month before, and it was better than like all my gifts because knowing that the government recognized my identity and in the eyes of the government I was myself was amazing. And now they basically trying to erase my legal existence. They declare that I don't exist. Basically, all of my government documents have an X on it. Now they're suddenly saying that there's only two genders, that doesn't exist. So in the eyes of the government, I no longer legally exist, which is insane to say, especially because I just want to live my life. Like, I'm just a high schooler. I'm mainly doing homework. I'm not my life shouldn't be a statement. Like, my existence should not be a political talking point, an issue.
Yeah.
I just want to be a kid.
That's what they say. They're like, well, let kids be kids.
Like, yes, now that Trump has gone into office, I am going to protest all the time. I'm organizing. These are my friends. We're part of New York City Youth for Trans Rights. We're like a trans organization. There's so many things. We're just trying to be ourselves and get support of that. And when the federal government isn't even recognizing it, and hospitals like NYU Langone in New York City, the probably most liberal state, suddenly they're bowing down to Trump, just shows that we are all under threat. And it's not just trans people, it's not just trans kids, they're coming for everyone.
Oh yeah, no, I mean, they're the transvestigators are like, you know, if they get a whiff that you're like, you know, it's like, I don't know if that's a woman. And then
Sydney Sweeney was trans. There was some weird, like they just want to target everybody because that's part of their.
They now think like
who?
Like Macron's wife, Brigitte Macron.
Yeah, no, it's the transvestigators are after everyone. It's
and that just shows like transphobia affects everyone. It's not just trans kids or trans people. Everybody in their eyes is a threat. Anybody they don't like or have any bias against, they will try to demonize them. It's not just trans people, it's not just queer people, it's immigrants, it's anybody who isn't a rich white male.
It's anyone none taken. If you are not worth $100 million, then like your rights are being infringed on.
Yeah. And
like if you have $100 million, no, like he is repping your hood like to the fullest right now. He is crushing it.
How is signing executive orders about trans people, about immigrants, gonna make the price of eggs go down?
How is invading Greenland gonna make
Greenland,
He doesn't actually care about what he campaigned on. I mean, in the election, he spent tens of millions, some estimates say hundreds of millions, on anti-transgender ads. Trans people are less than 1% of the population, and he spent I forget the exact number, but it was a good amount of his campaign advertising budget. Yeah.
Oh no, and it works so well.
Really
It works.
They want to demonize us. They want to say that, there's trans kids on the medical table having their genitals cut off. Most trans people don't have access to gender affirming care in the first place. So there's such a trans people are 1% of the population. Such a small percent of that 1% even get gender affirming care.
Yeah.
So he's really just focusing so much time, energy, and resources, executive orders, on such a small percent of the population. He's not doing things to help the American
No.
people. He's doing it with his Project 2025 co-writers to try to attack everybody he doesn't like.
One of the chuds comes up to you and they say, "What is a woman?" What do you say?
I would just kind of laugh, honestly.
Yeah.
Because the fact that they're even trying to ask that kind of proves that they don't even know. I agree that womanhood is very expansive and it may be hard to define, but I think that it's what people make it. If I were to ask you, what is a man, what would you say?
God, I don't even know. My favorite response is when they say, like, "What is a woman?" I go, "Well, I think 18, but the Bible says 12. You know, what do you
God.
think?" What are some of the immediate repercussions you've seen your friends go through?
First of all is the emotional impact that it has on trans people. Seeing a lot of my friends be able to have their rights taken away right now is one of the most disheartening things I could even think of. One thing that I have noticed in sports when it comes to trans people is the women who are most affected by this are women of color, because they are viewed as quote unquote trans because our people's idea of a woman usually, when it comes to beauty standards, conforms to white ideas of that. And so if a woman is muscular, if a woman maybe is bigger, if a woman maybe has a deeper voice, if a woman has something that is not considered...
She's transvestigated.
Yeah, and it's really frustrating because I've had that experience as well. I've had friends of mine who are in sports and are cis women have that experience and they're women of color.
If they win, just the fact that they won, everyone's side-eyeing them, being like, "All right, yeah, like you obviously, are playing with some more testosterone."
There are cis women who have higher testosterone, but nobody gets upset about that until it comes to the conversation of trans rights because of the fact that they just don't want trans people in sports,
Like that woman in the Olympics.
Oh, the Algerian boxer. That woman was from Algeria, a country that is not LGBTQ friendly. It took me 2 minutes to look up Algeria's stance on LGBTQ. It was awful. And I'm like,
Yes.
I was like, this country is not sending trans athletes to represent Algerian women's boxing.
Yeah, and I have concerns because imagine that woman's reputation when she goes back to her country, how people are going to treat her afterwards when they are forced this propaganda that she is transgender. How are people going to react in a country that doesn't support that right?
So the bottom line is women that don't conform to European beauty standards are going to get it the worst in this situation. Because if they're taller, they run faster, longer, stronger, they're sussed out.
I do ballet. I don't know if you would consider it a sport, of course, but there's always a lot of debate in ballet around what is the most pretty, what is the most graceful, most feminine. And to me, the people that I know that are the most graceful and feminine are the ones who are the biggest, who are the most not the most masculine, the most sort of muscular, the ones who can handle being able to have such a tenuous sport that requires physical stamina and requires you to be so strong. I've had experiences, for example, with my friend who is a wrestler where she has been transvestigated. She is a cis woman, and her whole life she has invested her life into wrestling, and it's been disheartening because there have been people who are part of the PTA board who have tried to take her out of the sport simply just because she does not look like what they think an athlete should look like. And I think that is so unfair especially when it comes to women's sports in comparison to male sports. Women's sports are just not as supported or represented. Even that in itself is something that I wish we would invest more of our time and money into. Women who are in sports are equally as capable, if not more, than anybody else who does sports. And I think that we should give them the platform to be able to express themselves and have that ability to be healthy and enjoy that right to play and have sports.
Oh my God, thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. I have been wanting to do that where I find someone that's like at the top of that like anti-trans movement and just be like, tell me your favorite
Like Matt Walsh. Or something.
like your favorite, performers in each category and be like, just name me someone, favorite female swimmers, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And, and you can't mention Leah Thomas.
And you can't mention Riley Gaines.
You can't, without mentioning
man.
Riley Gaines or Leah Thomas, tell me your favorite, because we know the lucrative world of high school women's sports, the lucrative multi-billion-dollar.
We see this with the Stonewall riots, the movements for queer rights, and it's I have a lot of thoughts about this because, yes, I'm happy that people are thinking about what it means to be a woman, what it means to be a man, what gender means for them personally, or for other people in relation maybe to their sexuality or whatever. But I also do wish that there were more resources and education and investment in research into this so people can really understand what are the facts,
Yeah.
What is
I'm
it?
trying to. Yeah, that's what I'm trying to do. Is actually trying to meet some of these people where they are and be able to actually, not that I want to debate like an awful person, but like debate, just explain
Just
to
to-
your
to
average
question
person, your
their
average
thinking.
person that's just like, oh, well, what is this? I'm gonna still throw jabs at like the Matt Walshes and whatever, and the Moms for Liberty people, but like the rest of them, it's like, all right, if you have actual questions, I'm trying to be able to like answer this
Yeah.
in a comprehensive way and not just dismiss you. Some of these people, I'm like, all right, if I don't fucking teach you this, the other guy, Matt Walsh, is going to teach it to you. Whenever I've talked to fascists and Nazis, they're incredibly patient with you until they realize they're not going to get what they want.
Yeah.
And it's so frustrating. Like, they'll sit there and be like, I'm going to listen and explain everything about anarcho-capitalism that you need to know. And then the second I'm just like, go fuck yourself. Then they're like mask off about it.
Yeah, and I would say, especially with not even about like parties left or right, but just politics in general today, I think that we've become extremely polarized because people do not want to sit and listen to each other. And I think that is most frustrating when people think that debating means winning. And for me, that has never been the point of conversation. Debate should be open-ended, and it should mean that people.
Be like a conversation.
Yeah.
And and we are, yeah.
It's
it
not
should
about
be.
who wins.
It's not like, there's too much debate lording.
And-
There's a lot of debate lording, and yeah.
Yeah, and I mean, this is coming from me. Like, I do public forum debate, I do model Congress, where everybody is at each other's throats,
Yeah.
And at the end of the
And
day,
it's sport, yeah.
yeah, it's sport, and I don't think that people's lives should be considered sport. It shouldn't be something that we're trying to win over or
Marginalized
dominate.
people shouldn't have to constantly debate the right for them to exist all the time. I walked into a conversation you were having with trans people, and you were giving them a lot of good assault rifle recommendations.
The word you're going to want to use to get around the conservative bullshit is intermediate rifle, or a rifle that uses an intermediate cartridge, because it's somewhere in the middle between like a pistol cartridge and like a 308, which is like what the Garand fires. I personally think that every trans person, gay person, black person, any minority in this country should be able to arm themselves, and should arm themselves, because the only people who have guns shouldn't be the ones who want to kill us. One of my personal favorite firearms, from my experience with it, with friends who have gun licenses, who've taken me to ranges and stuff, is the Ruger Mini 14. There's some like minor issues where you have to use a Ruger factory like magazine or you'll get feed issues, but the Mini 14 has like wood furniture. It operates in has the same magazine capacity, operates in the same cartridge. Because of that, it has like a low recoil. It's lighter, it's good for like hiking, defense against wild animals, and it's a good rifle to practice on, I feel, for a lot of trans people, a lot of gay people, because you can get a lot of rounds off really accurately because the recoil's not like insane like a full rifle cartridge or like a shotgun,
Okay, so we're talking about guns. I feel like we can't talk about guns without talking about mental health.
Oh, absolutely.
Let's just talk about mental health for a second.
Yeah, I wish there was more discrimination, is the word to use, in the mental health that, like, you're not allowed to get a gun if you have certain mental health issues is applied to. Because I know if you get diagnosed with ADHD or autism, which is not a violent mental health issue, and is in fact targeted as like a disability by fascist regimes, like, I feel like those people should be able to get firearms, because guess what? If you're autistic, you don't want to end up like in a concentration
Well, there's
camp.
another thing too. It's not related to mental health, but that's the whole thing where it's like even though it's illegal in a lot of states now, they're like, if you smoke pot, you're not allowed to own a gun.
Yeah, there's that too.
And like, because I know a federal judge just recently said like he like struck that down slightly. It's like if you did it within a certain time period, they can't stop you.
You're not anti-gun. You're not like, hey, just everyone get a gun and no rules.
Yeah.
Get mental health. The people that have domestic violence cases against them, you don't get to have a gun.
Guns are a tool, but they are a dangerous tool that need proper training and precautions, like driving a car. So people should have to get a gun license. That gun license should be limited by mental health issues or a history of like violent actions. The people who should have access to firearms should be trained in how to operate and store them safely because, and I'm so serious, it's going to sound like a joke, the amount of people who are NRA members who I've been to their house and they have a bullet hole in the ceiling is astronomical. Improper training in how to properly like store and care for a firearm and treat it with the respect that a tool of that level of danger deserves. It's like a chainsaw. You're not going to hand a chainsaw to someone who's never touched a chainsaw before because they'll cut off their arm.
Yeah, it's like you're not going to hand like a 10-year-old a chainsaw.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Well, yes, you are under Trump's America. When you take, you're definitely going to hand him to 10-year-old a chainsaw under Trump's America because we're getting rid of all the labor laws and labor protections. The kids yearn for the mines, you know?
Like the labor laws, maybe it's my engineering, like education speaking. Regulations were written in blood. They're there for a reason. And Trump removing regulations like that is a dangerous game in which we're going to start experiencing a lot more industrial accidents. It is a perfect example of why even in time periods when workers' rights are protected by legislation, unions are still important. The reason unions won the rights that they won originally is because they were able to arm themselves. The Battle of Blair Mountain in 1922, I think it was an armed rebellion against a mining company in West Virginia that led to workers' rights being taken seriously.
The term redneck
is
was
a leftist term.
They would like in West Virginia, the coal miners, they'd have like a red kerchief around your neck, and it meant you were like fighting for a labor contract.
You were part of the IWW, the International Workers of the
I
World.
know also like this whole thing that when the NRA found out that like the Black Panthers were
Oh, the
having
Black
guns and stuff,
Panthers.
they're like trying to take it away
They were
from
like,
them.
nope. Yeah. They were
That's
like,
another example. Black Panthers are a really good example of of leftists taking advantage of the rights that we have in this country in order to work outside of the system and build a system that works for them. Because the Black Panthers were providing their communities with free breakfasts, adequate education, and protection from racists that were attacking them.
Yeah.
And they were only able to do this because even if they weren't ever violent explicitly, the fact that they had the capability of extreme violence and the capability to retaliate meant that people would think twice before attacking them. I think it was Jordan Peterson that said this, and I hate to quote a person like that, but this quote I can take away from him and say
this is the
myself.
only time we're going to quote Jordan Peterson. Here, okay, everyone, we're about to quote Jordan Peterson unironically. Okay, here it is. Let's do it.
I'm not sure if this is his quote, but I think it is. A man who is not violent and is incapable of violence is not good. He is useless. A man who is capable of great violence yet chooses non-violence is the good one, because he's capable of that violence. We're capable of retaliating. We're capable of
Can you say it
defending
again in his voice?
No, I can't. I would.
I don't think we should arm trans and queer people just because statistically they would kill themselves. They're not going to be going and committing like acts of political violence to make a statement. No, they're going to shoot themselves because trans people commit suicide at 2/3 of the national average. So it's just more guns means more death. And I think specifically giving it to a group of marginalized people who already feel so alone in this world, giving them guns, they're gonna fucking kill themselves. I'm gonna be so honest.
And I see where you're coming from. I understand.
Give the gun to a white person like me, a straight white man. I will protect all of you. Just nominate, just give. I think more straight white men need guns. I'm sorry, what were we talking about?
Because you have so much to be angry about in the world. You have so much repression.
I know. I am always in the fetal position. That is a good counterpoint, and it's in good faith, and I appreciate that. Do you have something to say about that?
I just want to say I know exactly where you're coming from, and I know exactly where you're coming from. I'm also very anti-gun, but I'm more of we should get rid of guns as soon as possible. But until then, I feel like the people who are stable enough to have them and know what they would want to do with them kind of do need them, especially to protect people who can't do it on their own. Since there's so many people in other states that are allowed to open carry and do openly use them, even when not permitted to, because that's very much a thing that happens, people who know how to carry and use them would be able to carry and use them against these people in a safe manner while also getting everybody else to safety. Because it's less about, I just want one, or, we need them to go against them, or more about self-defense. And this is the best way to combat them, because you can't bring a knife to a gunfight until the other person has a knife.
But if you're at a political protest and there's somebody open carrying, cops shoot people with guns. I think even just displaying guns is going to lead for more violence, because when people feel threatened, they fight back.
Listen, the cops are going to shoot us all anyway.
Yeah,
I mean, the cops,
don't
they're going
give
to
them
shoot
more
you with a
reason.
gun, without a gun, if you're resisting, if you're not resisting.
My thing with that, and the reason I support those open carries is, and this is going to start sounding very radical very quickly, so hold on to your asses. Protests philosophically are a threat against the government, saying there are a lot of us. We are easily armed and we don't like what the fuck you're doing. This is your last chance of recourse before we start physically stopping you from doing what we don't like. Philosophically, just protesting with or without guns is a threat of violence. And what you were saying, I don't think we should be doing what Ukraine did at the beginning of the invasion and just handing out guns to random people.
Yeah, no, that's crazy.
But
Yeah, I agree.
I feel like trans people should have the choice. And I feel like the mental health thing would be more along the lines of suicidality in general, because saying that trans people specifically would be more likely to kill themselves with guns, statistically, yes, and that's true. But that language also walks the thin, fine line of something that conservatives can weaponize against us to be like, being transgender is a mental illness. And even if they don't use that to lock us all up in mental hospitals, because I'm non-binary, so I identify with the community, then they'll at least say, okay, you're mentally ill, so you don't.
But I think the reason a lot of trans people are suicidal is not necessarily because they have mental health issues. It's because the world hates us. And when you have the entire world against you, you have all of the media saying you're crazy just for your identity. Not necessarily because you have any diagnosis, but the world is so against us. And I think that's why so many people don't want to be in that world.
That's
so,
what's causing depression.
it's not what mental illness we have. And I do definitely recognize conservatives will use mental illness to put trans people in a box. I am just saying that statistically, I like looking at statistics. If you look at how many trans people kill themselves, and then you're thinking of giving them an easier way to do so, when they're as much as we can talk about mental health, it's not easily accessible in this world, and especially for trans people, because even most therapists, you have to get a trans therapist, because so many therapists don't have the proper training to work. So it's already so hard to get mental health. Give it an easier way out. The way we feel in society and the way society has just treated us, that makes it more likely for people not to want to be in this society. And so I don't think arming some of the most vulnerable people is a good idea. I don't think arming anybody is a good idea, but especially people who the world just has so much against.
My only caveat to this is it's geographic.
Yeah.
If you're in New York, I personally don't think there should be any guns in New York at all. If you're in a rural area, I get it. When I've been in rural areas, I'm staying at some cabin. It's in the middle of nowhere. I'm like, I'm like, yeah, dude, I go out to like throw the garbage out at night. And I'm like, I'm gonna have like a gun with me right now. I don't trust anything. Like, I'm scared of the dark. It's like, I was like, come on.
And like what you were saying earlier about being in a rural area, that's because of my background. I grew up in South Jersey. It's a pretty rural area. We have like a lot of farms and a lot of like space, like the Pine Barrens.
Yeah,
is
like,
just
yeah,
empty
get a
nothingness.
gun. Yeah, you're in like,
Yeah.
if you're in a
But
frontier,
in-
rural
in New
area.
York City, there's so many people that a gun-free zone might actually help. But then again, I'm also like for legal guns, so you
Yeah.
can like be like, okay.
I mean, there's tons
We
of people that are
know-
legally carrying. If you're a restaurant, liquor store owner,
And
tons of business
And I know
owners.
tons of people who are
Why?
carrying like unregistered stuff.
Well, I don't know about
I
that.
just think less guns. I'm very
Yeah.
anti-gun. So but that's a difference of opinion. I completely
Yeah.
respect that.
Yeah, cool.
Yeah, and this is a
this is
good
good.
thing.